Hey everyone, Robin Openshaw here, and let me know if you are hearing us live because otherwise I don't know because I'm using Zoom and I am interviewing today. Very interesting situation that we have going on here that our governor a week ago, announced that all children K through 12 in the entire state would be wearing masks full time in schools, and lots of parents and lots of grandparents were upset. And so I'm introducing you to Carly Lisenby today, and I also have with me her mom, Penny, who is a teacher and was there at the 1-minute protest on Tuesday. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Thanks, Robin. We're excited to talk with you.
Well, we already have someone who may be a relative of yours saying, "Yay, Carly, my hero."
Okay, we need to hear that because we've been getting a lot of hate.
Yeah, that's been the craziest thing, Robin. And like yesterday when I reached out to you, I was kind of in a dark place yesterday morning after waking up and seeing our faces everywhere and lies said about us, horrible things, death threats. And so I reached out to you and you really helped lift me up. And I remember saying to you, I think I need to just take a week off. I need to just decompress and just focus on my family. And then you were like, do you want to do a Facebook Live tomorrow? And I go, sure, okay.
So I think I said that like, okay, you got shut down at this county commissioner meeting. And I think that like we literally crossed and I was like, let's get you a voice. Let's have you be heard. And I have lots of pages to share this to, but what everybody needs to know is that what happened here is that a couple hundred mothers and grandmothers, fathers and grandfathers, I saw my own father in the photo of you guys. You landed on the cover of lots of national media, and I don't think it's any accident that suddenly at that meeting there were many national liberal media outlets there to cover this story, because my observation has been that they want a lot of focus on the mask issue. They want lots of people fighting, not necessarily the media, but the people who control the media. And, you know, we talk about that a lot on my personal page, is who actually controls the media and why is it that we hear nothing? Why is it that 4 media outlets came to my first protest where we never even discussed masks, and we were discussing, you know, asking our leadership not to shut our economy down and to not shut our small businesses down again. And every single one of the 4 media outlets reported that it was a mass protest, even though we didn't discuss it once. Yeah. And then they came to my second one and they did the same thing. So they very much are interested in your story, and you ended up on front page of CNN, I believe. I saw you in Google. I know you're on Twitter. I know that Tanner Ainge, who is the county commissioner who shut you guys down, immediately started tweeting about it, even though he let hundreds of people he represents just get shut down because he decided that he wanted to send you a little moral lesson and tell you that you weren't far enough apart. So talk to us about what your experience has been.
Yeah, well, I want to just say I woke up to, and I've had to turn a lot of the news off because it was getting to me a little bit, but I woke up and I saw this from CNN this morning. It said, Utah County Commission Chair Tanner Ainge had to shut down an overcrowded meeting when the crowd erupted into an anti-mask protest after the discussion turned to the face mask mandates in schools. I have such a new appreciation for fake news and for how the media is tearing us apart. It's pitting neighbors against each other. I've seen people in my neighborhood who I love, family members, share this, and they're embarrassed about us and what happened. And I cannot tell you how grateful I am that you're allowing us to come on here and say what happened, because it's a shame that our voices were shut down. And that is the issue here. There were women in there, good women in there, who are for the mask mandate and they wanted their voices heard. So that to me is the issue. And do you want to just share how we got there with Bill Lee and who you reached out to before?
Okay, as a teacher, you know, our principal was doing such a good job trying to please everybody and in this impossible situation. And he had several options out, and I kept looking at the options. He would share them with parents and teachers, and I really respect that he wanted our input. And as I looked at the plans, though, I just thought, nothing looks good. They all look horrible. And then we came up with one that I thought, oh, this will be good. This will be okay. And all of a sudden the mandate came out. So I thought, oh, how
So
could we do?
you thought that you were in the middle of a negotiation and then all of a sudden the mandate. And I want to point out, because we haven't said this, that Carly is the mom of 3 little ones.
Yes, I have 3 children, 10, 7, and then 2.5.
So all your kids are right smack in the middle of having this be their education system. And I don't mean to be negative. I don't think it's fun to tell people things like this, but I believe that this is a permanent, this will morph into being a permanent mask. There will be laws passed by our legislature. And I've reached out to all of our legislators, and half a dozen of them or so have said we're against it. And you would be proud of how we talk about the Constitution in when we're in session and whatever. But I also had, one Democrat say that he was proud of the leaders who have in Salt Lake County and in Summit County who have shut economies down, who have shut the mask down. And I just believe that's the direction that we're going, and that is the agenda. But I want to mention that, okay, so Carly has 3 children who are, young, only 2 in school so far, but everybody should know that Penny is also a school teacher, and you want to mention that, Penny. And you're also, you don't think that it's a healthy situation for children to be wearing masks in school, even though you are over 60 and you have autoimmune condition and you are a teacher all day in the classroom, right?
Yes, and we had a Zoom meeting with K-3 in our school, and everything administration was saying, well, we're doing this to protect you and this, and finally said, stop. I'm the second oldest teacher in the school. I asked the oldest teacher in the school who was there, are you afraid to teach unmasked children? And she said, no. And they said, aren't you? And I said, no. And every one of us, except for one, said, we want all of our kids unmasked. We don't want to wear a mask. We're not afraid. And it really is based on research. I don't take this lightly. In the beginning, there's nobody more paranoid about germs than this girl.
And I don't think Robin knew that. You didn't know that, did you?
And we were scared. But as time went on, we both decided we can't live in fear. And as
hold on. So I think what you're saying is that both Carly and Penny in March were totally bought in on this thing, and you were like, yeah, let's keep.
Not only, it was her birthday in March. I knocked on the door, dropped off a cupcake, stayed 6 feet apart, and I was like blowing her kisses on her 61st birthday.
Didn't see or touch my grandchildren for 4 weeks. We were obedient. We were doing it.
Yeah.
And we're still not anti-maskers per se. We use common sense.
If someone wants to wear one and that makes them, I don't want to take that right away, but I don't want it forced on my child. And an interesting thing, 3 weeks we didn't see you, let my kids hug you. Finally, when my little 2-year-old was scooching close to my mom, we finally were around each other and I kind of let her close, but I could tell she was about to hug her. And I said, Penny, no, remember? And Yaya's sick. That's what my kids call her, Yaya. And Penny goes, leave me alone. And she yelled at me and went and hugged my mom. And she just put her, do you remember that? Yeah. She wouldn't let go of you.
Yeah.
And then she would not let go of you. And so I'm thinking, what are we doing to our kids? When they have, like yesterday when I was at that meeting, I had facts of why it's safe for them to go back to school normally and how doing it any other way would actually harm the children. So really that room yesterday was a room full of concerned parents, mothers, teachers. There was a Vietnam veteran we talked to yesterday or 2 days ago now. And we just want to be a voice for the children because they're being forgotten in this whole thing.
Those of you who are at the meeting who are on here, and I predict we'll have about 30,000. We'll have about 30,000 people watch this by the time we're done. We'll share it to all my pages. Why don't you guys share in your comments what your experience was? If you were there at the meeting, I've heard 5 or 6 people back up Carly's story, which is we were there, we stayed up all night, we were prepared, we were respectful, we weren't unruly like the media implied.
Well, and I just tell my experience, what I imagined before this happened, and we started looking at all the data, and that children are safe to go back to school without masks. And you're hard pressed to find cases where they do spread it to an adult. So we've already done this. So I thought, who can we talk to? We went through the proper channels. I'm emailing and calling the governor's office and the school board and the Utah school superintendent. She's the only one who emailed me back, but there's really, it's just you know, thank you for your input, basically.
So Penny, is it your experience? Are you finding that every teacher you talk to wants to teach kids who get to breathe oxygen, or do you find that they're mixed? Because Governor Herbert is saying, I'm doing this for the teachers.
That's the problem I'm having. In my circle of teacher friends, we want to teach. We're not afraid. I have heard of a couple of teachers in my school, I haven't talked to them personally, who don't want to do face-to-face teaching. But everybody except for one in K-3 in my school said, we want to do face-to-face teaching. We're not afraid if the kids come without masks. That's where I started thinking, what's going on here? And then parents from my school are emailing, texting me, and there's surveys done. I'm not going to say the school because I haven't gotten permission, but I have a friend who is an assistant director at a charter school near me. 93% of the parents, she said, want their kids back without masks. So I'm taking this all in thinking, how can we sit around and let this happen when many of the teachers I'm talking to and parents want their kids to go to school without masks? Mm-hmm. And as a teacher, I can't imagine a second grader wearing a mask all day, not touching that mask. It's going to be dirtier having the masks on. We can practice good hygiene, which we do. Kids already know in school. We teach them to cough in their elbow, to wash their hands often. We take a lot of hand washing breaks.
A funny thing about that, my sister-in-law was at Target yesterday. She saw a woman in a mask and she put it down, sneezed, and then put it back up. And I just thought, what's going on here?
Yeah, we just wanted our voices heard. And somewhere I called representatives, one answered the phone, one never responded to me, but I thought it was the representative who said, contact the commissioner's office. And I don't want to quote him because I've talked to so many people.
Yeah, how did that happen? Because I was like helping promote getting the word out about the county commissioner meeting. But how I understood it, please correct me if I'm wrong, because I probably am, is that because this came from the governor, but Utah County being so conservative, and you guys haven't experienced a shutdown, we have. The health department went around and shut down more people than you're probably aware of. And I don't think people in Utah County realize how many people were really actually affected and very deeply affected. But you didn't have like your county like we did here in Summit County or Salt Lake County shut tens of thousands of businesses down and just devastate the savings of tens of thousands of business owners. So this is like new for you guys. And so if anybody was going to stand up to this, I would think it would be Utah County. I somewhat think Washington County would too. And so you did, but you were encouraged to by Bill Lee, who is a county commissioner. And then it was his colleague, Tanner Ainge, who shut it down. Tell us about that.
So yeah, a lot of us emailed the county commissioners. It's just one email. And I got an email back from Bill Lee, didn't hear back from anybody else. So I thought, oh, somebody's listening to us.
It got us excited because as a mother, when I know so many people, mothers who have been shaken to their core when they heard of the mask mandate. I know mothers who are homeschooling now. We're shaken to our very core at the thought of this. I am, and I know they are too. So I thought, I don't really know what a county commissioner can do for us, but at least we have this platform. I knew these meetings were live streamed. So I thought, let's prepare statements. Even if they really can't vote on anything, our voices will be heard, right? So we get there at 2:30 because Bill said he would kind of prep us about the meeting. So we do that. And he said, and I'm also seeing how we really didn't have a hero that day. I think a lot of people thought Bill Lee was our hero that day. I'm grateful he gave us that opportunity, but he mismanaged the situation. So that put us in a bad position.
Why did he jump in and say, no, I invited these couple hundred people here. We're going to hear him. Why didn't he do that?
That's what we were hoping for.
Yeah.
He was quiet.
And also when we were outside, before we entered, he said, how many of you want to make a statement? And we raised our hands. And I think there were maybe 20 people, 30,
maybe more,
maybe 30. I don't know. He could have said then, look, I already know according to fire codes or whatever, this is too many people to go into the meeting. Let's start with the people who are saying their statements first. Let's have you go in. There's a foyer where you can watch the meeting be streamed, sit there, and then we'll rotate in. He could have said that. That didn't
happen. So you have a bunch of people who are definitely backing up your story. You have Jennifer Newkirk saying, after my comments, the reporter came up to me and asked me my name, and I asked who she was with, and she said the Salt Lake Tribune. And I said, oh no, you are fake news. And she wrote a garbage article. I had the same experience a week ago. I stood up at I think you were there, Carly, and I said, I want to say the very first words to the media, and that is, please don't screw it up again. Last time we had a protest, all 4 media outlets said it was a mask protest. This is not a mass protest. If you understand one thing that I'm saying here, don't go out there and say this was a mass protest. Well, guess what KSL did?
Right.
Here's the thing. And I actually did an interview with her afterwards, and I reiterated, please don't say that we were protesting masks. And the thing is, I think that they would probably try to go and tell the story, and then their editor would just rewrite it. And these editors are getting, you've seen these videos where every single city is saying word for word for word the same news, and it's a lot of it is very propagandistic. But I will tell you this, I have lots of media reaching out to me and saying, hey, aren't you the one running those protests? Can we do an article on you to get some statements about being anti-mask? And I say, hell no, you can't. It's not my issue. I've been talking about, I don't like the fact, I'm not going to participate in you guys getting everybody focused on this and everybody divided in half, so that they're attacking each other with all the virtue signaling. And I saw the guy in the back of the room, I think he's a husband of a teacher. And I think this guy and his wife, who's a teacher, and I think she's like new to Lone Peak, I heard, or something like that. I don't think they understand, because they don't work in the private world where businesses lay employees off if there's no revenues coming in. The schools won't have the revenues coming in if people are pulling their kids out. I don't have a single friend here in Park City who isn't pulling their kids out of school. I don't have a single, all the families that we hang out with, I don't have a single one of them who isn't pulling their kids out of school. And so these teachers are going to lose their jobs because they're scared of little kids who have not been proven, they have been proven that they do not get sick, and they also do not transmit the illness to adults. We've only learned this from 8 European countries now reopening their schools, right?
And my question to you, Robin, is why do we not have a governor like yelling that from the rooftops to us so that we can feel calm going back to school? Because my heart broke for one woman who got up to speak, and I hope she felt comfortable with us and welcome, because she was afraid for her child to go back to school. But I wanted to say, look, we have so much statistics on our side that show that is, something to not be fearful of. And I also want to just share something. We have a family member who is in an assisted living home. She's been there since March. First of all, breaks my heart that she and others have been locked away since March because no one can visit them, right? So that's heartbreaking. But let me just read this to you. It said, dear family members, we have now
from the facility.
Oh, from the facility, yes. We have now received so there was COVID outbreak last week. We have now received all of the test results from last Friday. Unfortunately, we have had more positive results. We now have a total of 16 residents and 9 staff members. Interestingly enough, 2 of the residents who had previously tested positive have now tested negative. In addition, this strain seems to be extremely mild. The majority of those that have tested positive have 0 symptoms at all. So people keep talking about the spike in cases. So now we have nearly 20 cases right there with 0 symptoms. And the only reason we know about these cases is because they're testing. I think we need to step away from that. We need to allow people to choose what they want for their child. This doesn't scare me. I wish we had a governor who was talking about this to calm fears rather than perpetuate fear in people.
Read the CNN headline from this morning. You said it was this morning's story. I want you to read that headline again, because people need to understand that the media gets paid based on advertising.
Right.
They get paid on the click. A lot of times it's PPC, pay per click. And so I don't think people realize that people lie in the headline more often than not.
You guys, my jaw dropped when I saw this. It said, see meeting abruptly end after turning into anti-mask protests. And then it says, Utah County Commissioner Tanner Ainge had to shut down an overcrowded meeting when the crowd erupted into an anti-mask protest after the discussion turned to face mask mandates in schools. Now, do you mind if I go from this and talk about what happened when we actually got in there. So I do want to point out.
And I wanted to say, I actually expected a great big room. I've never
Yes.
been there. And I walked in, we were one of the first families in.
We were one of the first people
and
in to get a
everything's
seat.
got painter's tape on it. And literally, I think there were 2 seats open per row, maybe.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I think whole rows were taped off and mothers were coming in with babies on their hips, toddlers. So we sit down and no one took tape off at this point. Then the crowd's just like, people keep funneling in because as they're walking in, they don't know what type of a room this is. Then they're like, there's mothers with babies. So they're like, I'm taking this tape so I can sit with my baby, you know? And so, so we're all in there. We're just packed in there. Nobody said this is too many people. Nobody gave us any guidelines. We were just welcomed in there. And then Tanner comes in, and I think most people know what he said. He said, well, this should be brief. And I'm thinking, have you seen these people who want to talk? This isn't going to be brief, you know? And he said, you are doing exactly what you shouldn't be doing. And immediately I'm thinking, what? Like voicing our opinions? I was confused.
Then he said, I'm going to suspend the rules and move to cancel the meeting. And then Ivy gave him the second, and then it was done. He grabbed his stuff and he walked out.
And then,
do you feel like you were set up as a photo op, and then CNN and Google and everybody got their photos? Which, by the way, good job on that photo. I think you'll show that to your children when they're older.
We're so embarrassed. That's the thing.
Well, can I tell you? Listen, so a picture's worth 1,000 words, and I want to say what I was saying in that because I think, you know, people are saying it erupted in this anti-mask protest. I don't know what they're thinking. I'll tell you exactly what I was saying. When he left, I felt every last hope of me voicing my opinion and my fears and my concerns of my children going to school with masks was just ripped from me. I was silenced, and I stood up and I said, we are not being heard. We are mothers. Please listen to us. And I was fighting back tears, and I was looking at Nate Ivy and who was still there. And I was saying, no one's listening to us. Please listen to us. Hear our voices.
And my really ugly picture where I'm pointing my finger, I look so angry. I'm pleading with Nate Ivy, please. I said, we voted for you. We all voted for you guys. Please hear us out. And this is what kind of struck me. I'm not a feminist. I don't know. I'm not that kind of person really. But in that meeting, I thought there are 3 men who just said, we can just do this another time. We had women, nursing mothers, whose husbands had to take the day off work to come to this meeting. It was really hard for me to arrange it. And to just say to a group of women, it's not easy during COVID to get a babysitter. Oh, we'll just do this another time. It was so dismissive.
And I think that's why I appreciate Commissioner Lee for giving us the opportunity to do that. He definitely had his mistakes. I wish he would have maybe regulated so we didn't pack in, so we weren't given, so that picture isn't now being blasted everywhere and made us look like we were in there protesting. But I wish that Commissioner Ainge would have said, even if he disagreed with us, I wish he would have said, looks like there are a lot of concerned parents in this room. Unfortunately, there's too many people right now. Who wants to speak? Can we have people leave and so that we're not so overcrowded? And can I tell you, after he left, that's exactly what happened. Commissioner Lee said, okay, would some people mind waiting outside because there are too many people? And what did they do? They got up and walked outside. It's not like
we weren't these crazy, you know, trying to disrupt. We were actually quite obedient.
Exactly.
We were actually as soon as Ainge closed the meeting, we were shouting, we'll go outside, we'll go outside.
Yes, we were pleading, like, please don't silence our voices. The woman behind me was in tears saying, I got a babysitter to come here. I don't know if I can come again to one of these things. Like, and we'll go outside.
And to be fair to Ainge and Ivy, although they weren't fair to us, I did get their phone numbers. I know somebody who knows them. I got both phone numbers. They accepted my calls. I spent about 30 minutes with each one of them. The reason they were angry is because they said, Billy does this to us all the time. He throws things on the agenda at last minute. We didn't even know about this to the night before. We didn't even know you were coming to the night before. And
so
I said,
they were punishing Bill Lee because they don't like him.
That's what I said. You're punishing, but basically you punished us. Yes. And that's what I said to both of them. You're angry at him, but you took it out on us. Not okay. That's not okay. And instead of just shutting the meeting and shaming us, you're doing exactly what you shouldn't be doing. kind of explain to us. Ivy explained to me later, we have the fire marshal saying it's too many people.
We didn't know that. We didn't hear
We
that.
would understand that. We give us some options. Say, hey, we respect that you are here. You made arrangements to get here. We want to hear your voices. Here's some ways we can make it happen. But it was just completely shut down. And the only time we erupted is when the meeting was shut and he walked away, and we're just pleading. We're just pleading.
No, we weren't shouting like, you know,
you guys are so Utah County.
Yeah, we're very obedient.
So Utah County, because listen,
Robin,
I don't give a crap if you were obedient or not. Like, you were being subjugated to a completely out of control, overreaching government. So, and I'm sorry that, and I can't see myself. Tell me can you see me?
Right there, that's good.
I can see you.
I think that's why we're so horrified. I went as a school teacher. You know, there are people that don't agree with me, but I just feel like I do represent a lot of teachers that I know, a lot of parents that I know, and yay, my voice can be heard. And it probably won't make any difference. I really believe that. It probably won't, but maybe it will. And at least I can feel like my voice is heard. I don't like that a lot of my parents and my principals see that angry looking face of mine. I was actually pleading, and I didn't even know they were snapping pictures.
Yeah, that's how naive we are, Robin. I had no idea that media was in there.
We had no idea.
What's really funny is the fact that, so I've been in the media for like 13 years. And before that, there was my family going on wife swap. And you probably know a little bit about that because you know my.
No,
I remember.
Send me that.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah, I send no one that. They say, where can I find it? I'm like, well, if you work, you can find it. But why would I have any reason to want to share it with you? And they literally lied about everything. Like, so you guys don't know this, and I'll tell it in the briefest. I'm going to give you 2 tiny little examples that I hope make you feel better. Because listen, if you're going to be in the media, they're going to lie in the media about you. That's it's just a point of fact. And that's why I have refused to give any quotes to these people. I mean, besides the fact that whether adults are wearing masks or not is not what I want to talk about. I'm the one who's standing up for small businesses because I see what the real agenda is here. And masks are they are testing us to see how fast they can bring the communism on. But anyway, so in wife swap, the whole thing was they couldn't really find me to be weird enough for them. And so they made up a story that I am obsessed with efficiency and I force all of my children to celebrate their birthday on the same day. And they even told my son to say, and they scripted it. Ever since I can remember, my mom makes us celebrate our birthday on the same day. And I was horrified because watching the show, like, they knew darn well that all 4 of my kids are born within 2 weeks of each other. And they also know that they get a separate party on the same day. And that only happened twice in their lives, but somehow that became that I'm obsessed with efficiency and make them celebrate their birthday the same day. You know, if you have family who are going to be driving 2 hours, you might do a family party that's combined, but that's why, because you're not going to make them drive down 4 times in the course of 2 weeks. So they just, you know, conveniently leave out the salient fact. And I think a lot of that happened in your story too, they just left out contextual information that would have made it a more boring story, but also the truth.
Yes, and that's what really made me sad. I've saw people posting, "Oh, I'm embarrassed. How reckless of them." Well, I'm like, we weren't given a choice.
Well,
we
I
were
read
invited
this morning
there.
that the governor called us foolish, and I would say I think the county commissioners were foolish. It was really on them because we were actually trying to do what they were telling us to do.
Right.
And we filed in. There was nowhere to sit. People needed a place to sit.
It's a
Nobody
shame,
stopped us from going in. And
I have Jennifer Newkirk here saying that, she said the tax meeting had more people in the room. Is she talking about a meeting that was right before that and the room was full?
Maybe there was a meeting a week or 2 ago, I think, and I'm not privy to any information regarding the size of crowd in that room. So I don't know. Was she there? If she was there,
another older gentleman said the same thing. He said, when we had the tax meeting, I don't know if it was meeting way back when.
Maybe it was.
We're going to vote on that 67% tax hike, which was passed.
Well, the crazy thing is, it's Tanner Ainge's judgment that you guys shouldn't be in the same room, but Utah County has essentially stood apart from all of the Democrat counties, and there was no mask mandate. Like, you guys were breaking no rule. Now, I don't call them laws because it's not a law. It's not a law here in Park City. It's not a
Right.
law in Salt Lake City. However, that's not going to keep you from getting fined and,
Right.
and having a big mess on your hands if you defy the unconstitutional rule.
Well, and can I say, Robin, so I went on Tanner's page. It was funny. I'm sitting in the meeting after Tanner left and we're just stunned. And someone said, Tanner's going to Twitter. And I'm like, what's he saying about us? And I saw what he said. I'm like, well, that's not really nice or true. But I'm reading comments and someone said, one of his followers said, I'm not saying it. Really, I'm not. But would it be so bad if I did say, I hope all these people get really sick, not die. I don't want anyone to die, but just really sick and suffer alone, gasping for breath for a good month or two in the ICU on a ventilator because F them. And he says it.
I think this guy's a reporter.
Yeah, I want to
looked him
get
up,
his name, but a veteran was there. A Vietnam veteran was
Yeah.
in there.
and he just
Mothers,
said F you to
children,
all of these good
teachers,
people.
health experts. And this is my frustrating thing is as a mother, I try to stand up and say, I don't want masks on my children, but guess what? Good news. I have statistics that say it's safe for them to go to school without a mask, but we're all of a sudden labeled. We don't care about life. We are not compassionate. And I think that's really, honestly, Robin, if I'm being truthful, breaking my heart in this whole thing is that families are being torn with this mask issue and the media is loving it. I'm seeing how the media has taken our meeting yesterday and has used it to continue this mask topic and divide.
And it
it's
really
sad.
was not an anti-mask. There were people in there wearing masks. I had my mask.
Mhm.
You know what? If I go to a grocery store and nobody's around and they don't have a policy, I probably won't wear my mask because I can stay away from people. If I see that it's crowded, I'll put my mask on. We're not even anti-maskers. Ivy told me I'm anti-mandate, and he said I'm getting slammed. He has a lot of friends on the left, and he said I'm getting slammed. He said I'm pro-mask, but I'm anti-mandate.
Mm.
But it's so scary to say anything anymore, and I think that's what has shaken us. It was a hard day for us yesterday. I mean, it has shaken us to the core to be misrepresented. Nobody likes being misrepresented, but then to have it, like my daughter in Virginia is saying, Mom, Washington Post is writing about you. And then my son who's in med school at the U is saying, Mom, are you sure you should have been at that meeting? He was worried about me. He's worried about my health, and nobody knows how it all happened and why we were in that close space anyway.
Well, I'm proud of you both for speaking up because I have been pretty vocal in the last couple of months and saying, in fact, I'm leaving on a 10-day RV trip just because it's getting to me.
We need to do this.
But I have said many times, you guys, I would love to do another protest. In fact, I would like to, based on this situation, the fact that you guys did not get to be heard, I would like to do a mom's march on the governor's mansion. I was begged by a number of people at the last protest to put together a protest at the governor's mansion. And I really like that idea because guess how many I texted every single one of our legislators. I emailed every single one of our legislators. I emailed all of our health department officials, especially in the 2 counties that have the mask mandates and that have done the shutdowns of small businesses. I emailed the governor's office, and guess how many of them showed up to our last protest?
Zero
showed up to our last protest.
Yeah.
They could at least send me a text and say, I'd like to be there because I actually care about representing my constituents well, and I care about hearing from them and what they have to say. Not a one. But I will say there are 1,500 people that sent a letter to the governor in opposition of the mask mandate before your meeting on Tuesday. I don't know what it's at right now, but let's just say it's at that 1,500. And if you guys will give me the phone numbers of the commissioners, I would like to send out an email to those people and say, please call the commissioners. Now I have to understand even what the commissioners are doing. I think you were trying to get the commissioners to get Utah County opted out of that. Is that?
Well, Bill Lee suggested that. He said, I'm trying to get a letter, written to send to the governor to have a compassionate exemption on Utah County schools. And so
this is the issue Ivy and Ainge had. They said, we didn't have time to even go over that letter. And Ivy said, it's kind of out of our jurisdiction. And I was wondering, is this the appropriate venue? Because I'm thinking county commissioners, budgets, you know. I did read that they are to enact local ordinances and administer them. So I don't know if this is
we don't
in
know.
their jurisdiction or not, but we were given this forum. And I think, Robin, the point is what happened that day. There were several hundred people there. We're so desperate for our voices to be heard, whether you want it or not. We just feel like our voices aren't heard, and people are just saying, this is how it's going to be. Doesn't matter what data says. And our voices aren't heard. So we thought, oh, we can at least have our voices be heard. And we left feeling, it was the yuckiest feeling, because I left thinking, no, we're in a time when it doesn't matter. Nobody will hear your voice.
Yeah,
And
that was
they're gonna
the, was the scary feeling, Robin.
And it is a scary feeling. And I've been feeling that feeling get deeper and deeper for the last 4.5 months. And I want to encourage any Utahns watching this to, it's a wonderful place to live. A lot of Californians and people from Washington and Oregon are coming here. A lot of people want out. People reach out to me almost every single day saying, hey, tell me about Utah, because it's just looking a lot better than California here. And we've already had hundreds of thousands of Californians move here in the last 20 years for some of the reasons that we now see coming to fruition in the complete, you know, socialist takeover of California. Utah is this move, and to mandate the masks in the schools is a very, very bad sign. About
Rob, when does it end? That's my question. Okay, because he said we want to mandate it for fall semester. Well, flu season starts right after that. So when does it end? That's why I wanted to push back, because I thought once it'll be on all year long.
And I'm just looking at practically as a teacher, I will spend my whole day managing masks. Yep. And the kids will spend their whole day being distracted by their masks.
And isn't it already really hard? Isn't it really difficult anyway to take care of 25 kids or 30?
Yeah, it's already difficult. It's exhausting. I'm feeling my age, but I want to keep doing this. I have a lot of reasons. I have grandchildren in my school. Person's going to be in my class next year.
Excited about that, I bet.
Yeah, and I had twin grandchildren in my class this past year. It broke my heart because, you kind of do all the hard stuff, and spring, in my class anyway, it's almost like you're just celebrating everything. We had so many fun activities that we do in the spring, and everything's just gone in one day. And it's just been devastating. And these kids, we've seen depression in our grandkids. When they hear my granddaughter who has had leukemia, and she's going to be going into 3rd grade next year. I don't know if it's kind of a PTSD thing, but when we speak, whenever we talk about masks in school, she just like, no, she just gets very emotional.
Yeah, I don't want to add stress to you, but may I use that as an example? You guys, cancer thrives in an anaerobic environment. And I've been teaching people this for 20 something years, that oxygenating the body through all the means of doing that. And I teach people how to make green juices or green smoothies to oxygenate. And we work with lots and lots of cancer patients to oxygenate. It's a terrible idea, and we need exemptions if we don't win the war against this mandate statewide. And the thing is, they know that if they grant an exemption to Utah County, that the whole thing could crater. And there's no governor who wants to be seen as weak and wants to be seen as a bunch of people run over the top of him. However, I think it would be a great public relations statement to have a mom's march on the governor's office. And I think we should do it. Unfortunately, I'm leaving on Tuesday for 10 days. I could probably help promote it to a certain extent while I'm gone. And then it could happen while I'm gone, or it can happen when I'm back. And then I'll put my full effort into, attending it, helping with it in every way. But I also want you guys to get me the phone numbers and tell me what best do you think everyone could say, because I can send an email to a couple thousand Utahns who have expressed an interest by sending our letters to the one-click letters to the governor about the shutdowns, saying, hey, Spencer Cox, you need to take an 80% pay cut if you shut Utah businesses down again. Because I could see they fully intend to do it, you guys. They're gonna
I come from a family of small business owners. My dad had a business, my brother has it now, and he had to lay off 38 employees. And he said, this was a couple of months ago, and he said, I'm still bleeding red because I can't bear if I lay off anymore. There are people who have been with me for 40 years, and it's been devastating. And, from day one, I just thought, why can't we leave our businesses open and let people choose if they want to go in or not? Let people choose.
And when we understand that this is not about who wins the election. They need Trump out of the way. But this is about global forces that have been talking about this for many, many years. And you and I were talking about this at the Hughes campaign, Carly, and there's a very deep rabbit hole to go down. But if you understand that this hyper focus on masks is round 2 on our small businesses, round 3 will come and they will not come back. There are already a lot declaring bankruptcy. We have, by April, we already had a year's worth of bankruptcies in that first month of the devastation. But round 1 was the first shutdowns here in Park City. It was over 2.5 months that our businesses were shut down. Round 2, we're in it right now, because right now, if they can get everybody completely focused on masks and like you guys are using words like anti-maskers, and I mean, they do this with everything. There's the anti-vaxxers. There's no anti-vaxxers.
Hey, Robin, I'm with you. I'm so sick of the phrases. I'm so sick of it.
Well, one thing we need to do is stop using them. But this is round 2, is that now if you're a small business and you have scrape together every penny you have to reopen your restaurant, you now have a bunch of people who won't come unless everybody's in a mask, and you have a bunch of people who won't come unless everybody's not in a mask. And so now you are losing a bunch of your clients or customers.
Exactly. It's so
and then
sad.
round 3 will be the shutdown. And I have gone on record saying this, you guys. I mean, everything points the same direction. All data points lead the same direction. There will be shutdowns this fall. We have seen a 92% decrease in deaths, you guys. And now we have mandatory masks.
Exactly.
And they're using it. They're dangling it like a carrot, like agree to this, and then maybe we won't have to shut you down again.
Well, and Robin, I know the first COVID, this is what I'm scared of. The first COVID case that happens in our school, is there going to be a shutdown of school? I feel like there's going to be, and that scares me.
Yeah, I think so too. So, you guys, the thing we can do, because there are people in the comments saying, what can we do? We have to be heard more. We can't be so compliant. I don't think it serves to be vulgar or be screaming at people in a public meeting. However, I don't care. You don't need to convince me that you were there being your perfectly pleasant Utah County selves. Listen, that's why we love Utah County. That's why I've taken money out of, I have invested in Utah County. I just bought some condos down there because it's going to be the last stronghold of freedom. You guys don't understand. The rest of us have already lost our freedom. So this is just like, it's sort of new for you guys in Utah County to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But if you guys will give me those phone numbers, we will send an email to 2,000 people who have stood with us before. And then I'm also going to start going on my page, Utah Freedom, and I'm going to say, you guys, how many people do you commit to getting to our Moms March? And we want dads and we want grandpas and we want grandmas too. Well, let's call it a Moms March, but let's organize it and everybody comes and marches with the moms. Yeah. But it's the mother's intuition who know. Yesterday I saw a guy I've been friends with for years, and he's a neuropsychologist with children, and he was swearing at and attacking anybody who would disagree that we send our kids to school in masks. And I mostly just stay off other people's pages, but it was in my feed, and I said, I am so sad that someone who works with children does not understand how incredibly devastating this is going to be for them. You guys both say that in March you were all about the germs and the whatever. I've never been afraid of this virus. However, I was a child who somebody told me when I was about 6 what germs are, and that they float in the air and that they're invisible. And if I breathe them in, they will get in me and I will get sick and maybe die. Right. And that's all I knew. And I cried. I don't think my parents would know to this day why I would like refuse to come to family prayer, and I would come kicking and screaming, and then I would hold my breath for long periods of time. I almost passed out a number of times. Because I had 7 siblings, and if one of them was sick, I was convinced that if I was in the room with them, I might take a breath and oops, that germ goes in, and I'm going to be puking my guts up. And Robin, this is what we're doing to our kids, sending them into that.
That's what I want to say. I just have people texting me saying, tell why you don't want mass sunshine at school. Well, that's one. First of all, we need to tell the truth about how they're not really getting sick. They're not dying of this, and they're not infecting other people. And my little girl, if they want reasons, she wears glasses at school. Have you tried to wear a mask and have glasses?
Robin, my sister's a registered nurse. She quit nursing because now she has to wear a mask full time. She said, I can't do it. I get claustrophobic and my glasses. There was a one of the speakers I really enjoyed. We left so people would have space to sit, and but we did hear a few speakers, but her husband's a doctor, and she said, you know, everybody's saying doctors and nurses have to wear them all day. She goes, yeah, and they hate them. She said, my doctor got special permission. He had to buy some sort of machine so that he wouldn't have to wear that mask all day. He just couldn't take it. So why do we want to put that? You know what? I would be the first one. If this were like the Spanish flu and attacked children, I would be the first one to say, I don't think we should be in school, you know, right now. But shouldn't we just be so grateful and singing from the rooftops, so grateful and spreading the word that really children aren't at risk? Do bad things happen? Yes. A young mom in St. George in January, February, 4 kids, healthy mom, died of the flu. Her friend's mom was a dance instructor at BYU who I knew of. I was a dance major at BYU. Died of the flu. Bad things happen. We cannot, you know, and people were also like sending me hate saying, well, what about this multi-inflammatory syndrome? So I looked it up from the CDC, and it said a few of the kids who have had COVID seem to get, it says few. Now, how many is a few? If it were a lot, I think they would have given us a number. But then it goes on to say, but most of them recover. Well, a lot of kids, I would say, more than a few, do have secondary problems from the flu. The flu can attack any part of your body. So what are we doing here? What are we doing? We're teaching children to be afraid, super afraid of a virus, which pretty much doesn't harm them.
Yeah, and we just have to keep speaking up about it because, you know, even though there is absolutely an agenda here and the end goal is a new world order, and this pressure is on every country right now, and the virus is being used as a Trojan horse to accomplish some political objectives that are far, far bigger than getting Donald Trump out of office, although that is a major part of it. We still, like, we cannot hear that and become defeatist and say, well, I guess we just let it happen and we just have a very small life where we mostly don't leave our homes, and, you know,
Right.
my poor kids are going to have to get chipped and and tracked and vaccinated with who knows what, and who knows how many, you know, shots are going to put in the adult schedule. And so these are the things that we've been talking about. My audience and I have been talking about for the last 4.5 months. We have talked about what contact tracing will look like. I started talking about 2.5 months ago. Here we are. Now we all just want to basically avoid. I mean, we went out to dinner last night and I told John, make sure you don't put your real phone number down there. Don't even put your correct last name, because that's why they're taking the names and numbers at the door. It's for contact tracing. And they're already saying, you know, we think that you have a positive test because of a restaurant you're in. So now everybody gets contacted, everybody has to stay home. So that kind of insanity is going to be in our schools. We have to, even though you guys, I have to point out what the end game is here. This isn't really Gary Herbert caring about our children. This isn't Gary Herbert caring about our teachers. This isn't Gary Herbert following the science. I mean, for heaven's sakes, the Salt Lake County mayor who forced the mask mandate used 2 studies as she presented the mask mandate to the governor, who he says yes to everyone. Anybody who wants to shut anything down, he has said yes. Right. I've watched this happen, especially in Summit County, because Summit County, everybody in office up here wants us shut down from absolutely everything. But that's not why he's doing it. I don't know who the exact individuals and groups are who are putting the pressure on our governors, but we have Republican governors everywhere who are doing this. And I believe that Utah is a little test right now. They're seeing, because they're going to do this in other states too. They're going to try to get our children mandatory masks. And it's part of destroying the economy, because if you bring the schools down, we are very, very vulnerable. This is the thing. Every time a nation accepts fascism or communism, they were in a desperate position first. I mean, World War II, you guys, people were eating, regular adults were like 40 pounds underweight and eating cigarette butts out of the street. They were desperate. That's how you get a Hitler. And so they know that it's just much easier if everybody is absolutely terrified, if everybody is dead broke. And I think from what's going on here, a whole lot of teachers are going to lose their jobs, and a whole lot of
And Robin, can I just say one last thing? So I've heard people say, you know, it's just easy. These children will learn to keep these masks on. Other countries do it, and they do it all year, and it can be their new normal. I've heard that. And I said, why would we ever want that to be our new normal. And also, do those other countries, are the parents allowed to speak up? I don't know. Are those parents allowed to do what we did 2 nights ago and say, no, we're not having this. We don't want this mandated for our children. I don't think they are. And so that's not something to aspire to. And that's not something, we don't want that as our new normal. And I love what you said about the masks when she brought up my little niece who kind of has PTSD with wearing the mask because she went through leukemia. I firmly believe that it would cause them to be more unhealthy if they are wearing these masks. And we also need to be exposed to germs. We do.
To create a healthy immune system.
We do.
Yeah, we are built to be in constant contact with all kinds of pathogens. And we are. And wearing a cloth face covering. I mean, at least now they're calling it face covering. And that's, you can see this agenda that is not about our health, that is more about, it's a political agenda. They're now calling it face coverings because they're transitioning us into a world where we all wear face coverings. And we won't go down that rabbit hole of what the theories are about why they want us in, long-term permanent face coverings. But it's not a world I want to live in. I don't want to be here for this. And I think that we need to be really careful watching somebody is saying here about the different names that they call people, mask holes and stuff like that. Like, catch ourselves. Like, are we just falling for this? Are we falling for this ridiculous? Like you guys saying, I'm not an anti-masker. I'm like, this feels like what I've had to say for 25 years since I had such a vaccine injured child that I had to say, people always like, you're an anti-vaxxer. And I'm like, no, I'm an ex-vaxxer.
Right.
Ex-vaxxer of a vaccine injured child.
Yeah.
And I'm pro safety and efficacy testing, which hasn't happened in 34 years. I'm not anti-vax. If there's a legitimate
I think our need to say that is because I want people to know if you're scared and you want to do that, you have the freedom to do that. But don't call me that I want people to die. Don't tell me that I should be tried for murder when people die. These comments have been said. Civility, we're losing civility on all sides. We need to come together. The media is dividing. We've seen that, how it's misrepresented the meeting, the national news has covered it. They are the tool of division.
I'm just getting a text right now from a friend in Wisconsin. Penny, you made national media. The sad thing is, yes, we never thought this would happen, but it makes me sad because we were so misrepresented and there's nothing we can really do. And thank you for giving us, this makes me feel a little bit better. Yes. It's been really a horrible 24 hours because people are misrepresenting us. We're getting all this hateful stuff. And this was such a good group of people.
So the nicest
it was, and I wish there were more. I wish there had been 1,000 and I wish that they'd been filling out onto the street. But someone told me when I did that wife swap thing and it came out and people were like, wow, you make all your kids celebrate their birthday. And what is that green smoothie sludge that you make your kids drink? And somebody said to me, and I really have lived by this because since then I launched Green Smoothie Girl and then, 450 city speaking tour and hundreds of media appearances over the years. They said the people who know you know better. People who don't matter.
That's nice.
Say, even though we got hate, we also got the nicest things. Greg Hughes reached out to both of us, sent us the kindest. And I was like, Greg, you were like my little patriot angel I needed right now to send me this, to just help us realize that.
Just somebody who's been through worse to send a sweet text saying, don't let this get you down. You weren't doing, it makes you second guess what you do.
Yes. You're like, did we do something?
And my son said, no, Mom, they want you to shut up. But I understand why people, like when you say, what can we do? I want to look at my school. When we have issues at school, I'm the loudmouth. My dad always said I'm the loudmouth because I don't like injustice and I want to stand up for myself. And it's really hard for me not to. And in school, like teachers will come to me and I'll say, well, you go tell them that. But it's like, I feel like I'm the one always going in there. Let's speak up. Let's not be afraid because
we're going to need you guys. And I think it's almost a blessing in disguise, as painful as the last 24 hours have been for you. But I really think this is important to say that I need everybody to be angrier than they are. I need everybody to not just sit back and go, well, things usually turn out. And I trust our government. And hey, I know that county commissioner, he would never do that. And I heard that other people are contacting their legislators. So I know they already heard it from someone else. I don't need to do anything. We need people to get a lot more incensed and we need people to speak up, because I have said I will do another protest when I have confidence that Utahns are actually going to get off the couch and do something. And I said at the last one, you know, we had 200 people there. I was like, I have worked way too hard for this not to be
Right.
this should, it's, you know, I should just have to round people up who understand that our children's future is being destroyed right now, and I shouldn't have to beg people to come to a you know, a protest. I mean, my business is on the internet. I'm not there protesting for my business. I don't own a yoga studio or a family-owned restaurant or a you know, karate lessons place. Like, these people are being destroyed, and they have put their heart and soul into it. So I am really sorry this happened. You guys, listen, just a few months ago, I had so many pharma trolls attack me on one day. They all ganged up on me, and from a page they're on, it was a very organized, concerted attack on me for something that I said about the flu vaccine. And that somebody ran a hit piece on me. There's an attorney that got involved, and they're like, let's take her down and say that she's not about free speech. Somehow that is how it all happened. And a major media outlet, you could easily find this, said, Green Smoothie Girl issues 32 cease and desists for, wait for it, mediocre customer reviews. Okay, now listen, these are hundreds of trolls, and before we shut down my public figure page, we didn't shut the page down, but we delisted it as public figure page. We had 32 reviews by people who are not my customers, saying things like, her products put me in the hospital with cyanide poisoning. These were not mediocre customer reviews.
Right.
These were lying trolls.
Yeah.
And so we need to start speaking up. We need to start being very vocal. And I want you to know that when you take a hit in the media, the people who already love you that much more. A lot of people read between the lines. Nobody really believes. We all know what CNN's about. We know what the Washington Post's about. We've seen their garbage propaganda for 4.5 months now.
Totally. Unbelievable. And let me just say, like, our faces were kind of the front, because I guess we were the only ones that stood up.
Sorry,
you know?
we're Greek.
I know. We come from her dad.
Said, Carly, I thought the whole place would have stood up when he walked out.
Yeah,
on us.
no, it was just like in my blood to just be like, no, what are you doing? You know,
and of course we're the only two, so our faces
but
are
the
Like
whole,
this. It's more like this, Carly.
Yes, I gotta, oh man. And so, but the whole room, so it's not just we're the martyrs, like just the whole room. So we are speaking for that whole room, you know, but
so
our face was.
Helen, I see that you're supporting, okay, one of our team is here. Helen, would you please put the Washington Post article? Just look for Carly. I think it would probably say Carly Lisenby, search for it. But you guys have to see this picture. The picture is fantastic. You look beautiful. You're going to be a hero. You're already our hero. Those are the words that people are saying here. And listen, it's not the reason you're not doing this because you want to be a hero. You're doing this because you're outraged on behalf of your children and every other child in Utah that you know. But listen, we all have to get a thick skin. Everybody don't, every single day people say to me, they reach out to me, you should see my DMs, about 200 people a day, like message me different things. Sometimes they're sharing media, but a lot of times they're saying, I just want to know, I stand with you. I can't do it publicly because blah, blah, blah. Like they always say, I have so many doctors and nurses who come to me and say, I really appreciate what you're doing. And then I say, would you come speak to us at a protest? Well, I can't. And I'm not judging them, you guys. But listen, this is not going to change until people get over that.
I was going to say, Robin, that's the only way things are going to tip, is because we're out here trying. And unless we get those people on board.
And we don't have a thick skin yet.
Well, I feel like I have a bit more. We have more today.
Okay,
yesterday I was like, oh my gosh, do I need to move? What's
my
going
whole
on?
life, one of the hardest things for me is being misrepresented. Maybe everybody has that. But I remember in my adult life being misrepresented once, thinking, I think that's one of the hardest things for me to deal with. It shakes my very core. Yeah. And to have this, so I hate the spotlight. Like if ever I'm in an organization, you tell me what to do, I'll do it. I never want to be a president of anything. And to suddenly have my face out there and be represented that way, it was just pretty horrible. But thank you so much for letting us share.
Thank you.
Our story just kind of feels so good to get it out.
Yes, and hopefully more people.
Of course, and I because you were so devastated, I want you to know that this is not to invalidate your feelings at all. But when I read it, like I didn't feel like it was negative. There's people reacting, but you have to realize these people have taken a side. They completely believe the propaganda, And this has happened over and over and over again in history, that the propaganda wins with a certain percentage of the people. And we have to let that go. And we have to realize that they will say horrible things, and this is not going to end today, and this isn't going to end next month. And unfortunately, I think it's not going to end next year. And so we are being developed into the kind of people who can hopefully lead our people out of bondage, and we are in bondage.
Yes, and can I say one last thing? This is what I wanted to end with yesterday. I had this prepared. My mom's dad, John Paris, okay, his family came from Greece. He was at Pearl Harbor when it was bombed. He faced the bombing at Pearl Harbor. And I wanted to say to them, if my grandpa can face the bombing at Pearl Harbor in his early 20s, my 7-year-old little boy can face second grade without a mask, and we can face life without a mask. And we are stronger than this. We came from strong people. We can do this. And we don't need this fear to get to us. We can live our lives, and we can also respect each other. And I really call for civility on both sides, because yeah, that would just be my last little pin on it.
Well, I appreciate you all. Many, many people are grateful to you for speaking up. And just remember, let's close on this. I want to share with you, you were born for a time such as this.
Thank you, Robin. You for sure. We're so grateful, and keep up the fight.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everyone. I'll start sharing this page out to everybody. Let's get the word out about what really happened in Utah.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend.
You too, Robin. Thank you.